Good afternoon, everyone. It is Friday, March 14th, a little after 3:30 in the afternoon here, and we're jumping on here to give you a little bit of a live video update on the severe weather threat that's coming up for this evening through overnight tonight and into the very early morning hours of your Saturday. Basically going to be looking at quite a severe weather event potentially setting up for at least portions of the state. Yes, we are expecting a severe weather threat across the entire state, though, with that said. But the most significant of the severe weather, which we'll get into in just a couple minutes here, will be down across central and southern Illinois. That is where the worst of the severe weather conditions might end up being, but like I said, the entire state is at risk for some severe weather here as we push into tonight. Now, starting off here, let's take a big picture of the United States here, because we have a lot going on, and it all centers around this big spin. You could probably see it here on this animation here, but this big spin, this is a big, strong, potent storm system here that's moving through the center of the country. Our area of low pressure is right there, right at the center of the spin. That's where that area of low pressure is at this point in time. Ahead of that low pressure, we have strong southerly winds. Anywhere you live across the state today, you're probably getting in on those gusty winds. This afternoon, warm temperatures as well. Temperatures are running in the mid to upper 70s, even some low 80s in some areas as well. So ahead of this storm system, it's very, very warm. The temperatures that we're seeing today are what you would expect to see at the end of May or beginning of June across the state. So very warm, late spring, early summer day. Now, another thing we're seeing here with this strong southerly flow is we're seeing moisture I should say it's quickly transporting northward, but it's still pretty far south right now. And actually, I'll give you a better view of this in a minute. But the good quality moisture is pretty much along and south of this line still. But it is rapidly transporting northward on those strong southerly winds at the surface and aloft as well. So we're seeing those warm temperatures, we're seeing moisture stream northward as well. And you might be able to see this orangish, dusty color here on the screen. That is a big dust storm occurring across parts of New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, and now up into Kansas as well. Out across that portion of the plain states, they've been dealing with 60, 70, 80, 90, even in some areas 100 mile per hour winds today. And those are not winds that are associated with thunderstorms. That's winds associated with the synoptic scale things. So what I mean by that is the storm system itself is very potent, very strong, a lot of mixing going on in the atmosphere, and it's working down strong winds aloft down to the surface, and they're having a very high wind event with 60 to 100 mile an hour winds out there across the southern plains, and you can see that big dust storm occurring out across that area as well. So what I'm pretty much telling you here is this is a very strong spring storm system moving through the region, and right now it is centered over the Kansas area, and it is going to lift northeastward as we go through the night tonight and into the day tomorrow as well. Taking a look at another view here just to show you how potent the storm system is, not only at the surface but the upper levels. Here's our storm system right here. We have our area of low pressure closed off aloft at about 500 millibars here. And you might notice it's kind of taken on this weird tilt here. This is what we would call a negative tilt trough. And negative tilt troughs usually provide the strongest of storm systems, and that's kind of what we're getting with this one here. You'll also notice these fancy rainbow colors here on the screen, those reds, purples, even some yellows and oranges here. That is the jet streak that is associated with this trough. And those are those very, very high winds aloft, and it just so happens that those high winds aloft are being mixed down to the surface across a good part of the central portion of the country with those very high winds out here across the plain states. And like I said, we're even seeing some gusty winds here across the state, and those winds will actually increase as we go into tonight, and there'll be two different periods of high winds today, tonight, and then tonight into Saturday as well. So the big story is severe weather, obviously. So let's get right down to it here. Let's take a look at everyone's favorite short-term weather forecast model here, and that's going to be the HRRR model. It runs every hour, and it goes out to 18 hours each hour. So every hour that this model is run, it sees 18 hours in advance, and there's 4 times a day that it runs to 48 hours, 60 hours, I forget, it's off the top of my head. But let's take a look at our favorite model here. This is one of the short-term models, convective allowing models here. And it's going to show you, we have storms developing here this afternoon across portions of Missouri down into Arkansas as well. Now, if I flip over to the live radar, I could show you that that is actually occurring here. So here's a look at our current radar here out of the central United States, and you will see we do have this arc of showers and thunderstorms that has developed here pretty much from southeastern Nebraska down right along the Missouri-Kansas border through the Kansas City area down to the border of Missouri, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma as well. So we have seen these showers and thunderstorms develop here this afternoon, and what we're expecting to see, and I'll show you this on the weather forecast model in just a second, but this arc broken line, what we call a QLCS, is going to originate from this activity, and this activity is going to rocket off towards the northeast here as we go over the next several hours. So right now it's about 3:45 here in the afternoon, and this activity just pressed through the Kansas City area down through the Joplin, Missouri area. But just within a couple of hours here, this activity will make it towards the western border of the state of Illinois. So even though it's way to the west right now, it's moving at 60, 70 miles an hour. These storms are going to be moving at today, and this activity will very quickly make it towards the western part of the state as we head into this evening with that severe weather threat. So the activity has already developed. So let's go back to the weather forecast model here to show you what's going to happen in time here. So as we go forward into time here, stair-stepping through, let's get to about 6 p.m. So 6 p.m. this evening, zooming in here, you can see we're going to be dealing with this broken line of severe thunderstorms. As I mentioned, it's normally known as a QLCS. Going to be dealing with mixed modes today, line segments, maybe some embedded supercells as well here. But by 6 p.m., you can see this activity has already made it into parts of northern, northeastern Missouri, down through the heart of central Missouri, and then back down towards Springfield, Missouri. This is right around 6 p.m., so just another 2 hours, 2.25 hours from now. Now, as we continue to move forward into time, let's go to 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. So by 8 o'clock here, let's zoom in once again. This particular weather forecast model, the HRRR model, has this activity now moving into western Illinois and all the way down, as you can see here, quite potent and significant down into parts of east central and southern Missouri as well. Once again, this is for right around 8 p.m. This evening. Let's back out here, go to 9 o'clock. 10 o'clock, let's zoom back in once again. So for 10 o'clock here, you can see from northwestern Illinois through the Quad Cities area, parts of western Illinois, Galesburg, Peoria area, down through just about the Springfield area, Jerseyville, down through the St. Louis metro area. You can see here, by that point in time, we are going to have that potential for that severe weather activity. Like I said, this is moving through right around 9, 10 o'clock this evening here. That severe weather activity now pushing deeper into the state here. And you can see what I was mentioning before. It's going to be a QLCS, but it's going to be a mixture of different modes within that QLCS. And what I mean by that is we're going to be dealing with some line segments and some supercells within that QLCS. So those line segments are going to be capable of producing those damaging winds especially, and maybe some QLCS tornadoes. Those supercells will be more so capable of producing the larger hail, Probably some damaging winds as well, and then a supercell tornado threat with some of that activity as well. So once again, this is for right around, let's say about 10 o'clock tonight. Now, I do want to add that this model does tend to be sometimes a little bit slow with the progression of activity. So if it comes through a little bit earlier than 10 o'clock as it shows here, don't be surprised. Maybe this ends up being 9 o'clock instead of 10 o'clock. So keep that in mind as well. So let's go here to 11 o'clock. As you can see here, this significant activity continues to track across the state here. Especially, you can see the worst of the activity depicted down here across central and southern Illinois. And we'll get to why that is just in one moment here. But as you can see, 11 o'clock here, let's step forward to midnight. Through midnight here, this activity is approaching the Chicago metro area now by midnight. It's coming through the heart of central Illinois, down through just about the Carbondale area by midnight on this particular model as well. Let's go 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. You can see it's through the Chicago area, through eastern Illinois. It is now pushed off into Lake Michigan, into Indiana. We still have it tailing down into southern Illinois, though, here. Once again, this would be 1, 2 o'clock in the morning here. Let's go 3 o'clock in the morning. 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. So by the time we get to 5 o'clock in the morning, it will even have cleared out across portions of southern Illinois. So this is going to be generally an event that occurs after dark. So this activity is going to move into western Illinois out here anywhere between, let's say, 7, 8 o'clock, maybe the western tip of Illinois out near the Quincy area. And then as we move deeper into the state, let's say maybe 9, 10 o'clock for sort of this corridor. Let's say 11, 12 o'clock roughly for that corridor there. So this QLCS, or line of severe thunderstorms, is pretty much rapidly going to traverse the state here during the evening, nighttime hours, and once again into the very, very early morning hours of your Saturday as well. The good news is the severe weather threat will come to an end by the time sunrise comes around, or should I say prior to sunrise on your Saturday morning. Now, let's talk a little bit more about why I mentioned that central and southern Illinois probably has the highest severe weather threat. Now, why is that? So let's take a look at a couple of things here. First of all, let's take a look at our moisture, because moisture plays a big part in severe weather activity. So this is a look at pretty much our current dew point levels right now. So dew points are a measure of moisture pretty much. So as you can see, we're dealing with dew points that are only in the 40s to mid 40s, upper 40s, low 50s across the state right now. And as you look down to the southwest, you'll notice dew points only in the 40s and 50s, or excuse me, 30s and 40s right now across Missouri. But you'll notice down here at the very bottom of the screen, we have this plume of darker green down here. Dew points well into the 50s down there. Now, as we step into time here, look what happens to that plume of moisture down to the south here. So that plume of moisture pretty much right here starts to move northward. Now, you do notice this green all up here. This is sort of contaminated because those are going to be those showers and thunderstorms ongoing. So this is contaminated by ongoing shower and thunderstorm activity. So don't pay much attention to what's going on up there with the dew points. But you notice as we head through this evening, this is for around 8 o'clock this evening, you can see these greens and even some blues down there start to pop up to the north. That is that moisture that's going to be streaming northward here. And as we head deeper into the evening here, you're going to see how that moisture continues to move off towards the north here. So we're looking at these greens starting to pop up ahead of the line of thunderstorms. At this point in time, that line of thunderstorms is pretty much right here. So you can see those higher dew points starting to advect northward, but the best moisture, the highest quality moisture, is going to be down here to the south. And when you're dealing with severe thunderstorms, you want your moisture levels to be as high as you could get them, especially at this time of year. Usually it's hard to get a lot of moisture up north during the early springtime. And this is one of those cases as well. But as you can see, that deeper moisture is going to be down there across parts of central and southern Illinois. So because of that, that's one of the reasons why the severe weather threat might be a little bit more intense. And I'll show you our forecast in a moment here. But it might be a little bit more intense down there across portions of central and southern Illinois. Now, another thing we like to look at is instability. And one of those instability readings is the mixed layer instability values here. So as we go through the day today and into this evening here, you're going to notice we're going to have this very narrow plume of instability that is going to be ahead of these severe thunderstorms here. And it's going to advect northward just as that moisture is advecting northward too. So as we go forward into time here, you can see this narrow area here. Eventually it gets pinched off just a little bit, but that best instability area is also going to be nosing up here into parts of central and southern Illinois. Another thing we like to look at is instability in the lowest portion of the atmosphere. And as we go through time here, now some of this is convectively influenced, which means it's contaminated by ongoing showers and thunderstorms ongoing. But down here, once again, you'll notice there's a little bit of plume here of better instability in the lower levels that is also nosing up here into parts of central and southern Illinois. So a lot of the parameters are going to be better across parts of central and southern Illinois, which is why we're going to be dealing with probably the better severe thunderstorm threat. And you could actually see that here when you're looking at the simulated radar here. Notice how the activity further south looks much more potent on the simulated radar here, central, southern Illinois, whereas if you go a little bit further north here, you'll notice the activity looks a little bit weaker. That goes hand in hand with the parameters being on the better side if you're looking for severe weather down there across central and southern Illinois. Now, that's not to say you're not going to see any severe weather across northern parts of the state, because you will. There's still a lot of energy with the storm system, even though moisture values and instability values are going to be far less across northern Illinois. When you're dealing with a potent storm system like this, dealing with a strong low-level jet just off the surface, you're going to be dealing with even weaker showers and thunderstorms that are still going to be transporting high winds down to the surface, producing some damaging winds, and you could still even get those QLCS tornadoes up there as well. So with that said, let's stop rambling for just a moment here, and let's give you the forecast, which is what everyone wants to see here. So this is our final severe weather forecast, pretty much. We issued this a couple of hours ago, late this morning. And as you can see here, we are once again expecting a severe weather threat statewide across the state of Illinois here. Now, as you can see, once again, as you get up there across northern Illinois, because the parameters or the ingredients that we look for are going to be a little bit more marginal up there, you'll notice that the severe weather threat level is going to be a little bit lower up there across northern Illinois. So for places like Rockford, the northern half of the Chicago metro area out there towards Dubuque, you'll notice the blue color, and you'll also notice the green color out there. And that represents the level 1 and level 2 severe thunderstorm risks across those regions. And if you look down here at our legend, that essentially means level 1 and level 2. That means we're still going to see an isolated to widely scattered severe thunderstorm threat across these areas. And that threat could include, for far northern Illinois, across those areas, that threat could include some small hail, definitely some damaging wind potential, potentially some significant damaging winds for some areas, and even up there across northern Illinois, even though you're only, quote-unquote, only in a level 1 and level 2 severe thunderstorm risk up there, you could still see QLCS tornado threat up across this area as well. But again, the threat will be more on an isolated to widely scattered potential. Now, as we work further south, you'll notice the yellow corridor, and you'll notice this massive orange corridor. The yellow and orange corridors are scattered and numerous severe thunderstorms likely. So level 3 is yellow, level 4 is orange. So that essentially means you could be seeing scattered to numerous severe thunderstorms there across those yellow and orange corridors, which, as you can see, pretty much runs very close to I-80 all the way across all of central and southern Illinois. You folks are in those level 3 and level 4 risk zones, which once again means scattered to numerous severe thunderstorms will be likely. And as I talked about a little while ago, the threat is going to be greater and more widespread across central and southern Illinois because the parameters are going to be slightly greater across that corridor. So once again, damaging winds will be possible even across central and southern Illinois. Could be some cases of significant damaging winds, which, as if you look here off to the side of the screen here, we do mention that there could be some significant damaging winds, potentially over 75 miles per hour. There could be corridors of widespread or significant wind damage, and especially down across this level 4 risk area. I want to make this very clear. Across this level 4 risk area, we are expecting several tornadoes. This is one of those setups where we're going to be dealing with a lot of low-level shear, and we're going to be dealing with hodographs, which if anybody out there is really into the weather and you look at the soundings on the weather model guidance, the hodographs are really going to be curved and elongated this evening and into early tonight, with extreme low-level shear as well. So as we start to see those higher dew points and that instability starts to nose northward here with that shear, things are going to be really significant looking as we head into the evening and into tonight across, especially, like I said, especially the level 4 risk area. We could be dealing maybe with a couple of strong tornadoes, several tornadoes, and some of the tornadoes could be long track. And that is due to the fact that these storms are going to be moving at 50, 60, 70, maybe 75 miles an hour. And if you get a tornado on the ground and the storm is moving at 75 miles an hour, it could be long track very, very quickly just because of the quick forward motion of these storms going into this evening and into overnight tonight. So quite a severe weather night on the way. Like I said, this is pretty much going to occur all after dark. Pretty much from this evening into tonight and into very early Saturday morning as well. So pretty much entirely after dark overnight event here across the state of Illinois. So with that said here, let's try to get to at least a couple of comments and questions here. I know we do have quite a few that have been coming through. So let's just try to get a couple of them really quickly here. Lucas checking in from Iroquois County. Yes, your severe weather threat in Iroquois County, your timing is going to be closer to as we get to around the midnight time frame. Maybe 11, 12 o'clock or so, maybe 1 o'clock. That would be Ford, Iroquois County area out there. Excuse me, I circled Ford County. I meant Iroquois County right there. Ashley checking in from Jacksonville. Yes, your severe weather threat is going to be coming up for tonight. The Jacksonville area, let's say somewhere maybe around 8 o'clock-ish, give or take a little bit. The storms are going to be moving pretty quickly. Let's say around 8 o'clock, maybe as late as 9 o'clock, but let's say around 8 o'clock right now for the Jacksonville area. Lisa, yes, it is going to be bad in Illinois. This is going to be quite a severe weather event, especially for this early in the season. It's only March 14th right now, so this is going to be a very early season, significant severe weather threat. And like I said, the most significant activity is going to occur in this orange corridor here. This is where we could see some strong tornadoes, several tornadoes, some long track tornadoes being possible as well, some significant and widespread damaging winds. But even outside of that corridor, if you live outside of the level 4 risk area, your severe weather threat is going to be possible as well. So that's going to be pretty much the whole state we're watching overnight tonight. Jesse checking in southern Illinois near the Indiana border. Timing for your area probably is not going to be until after midnight down here. Probably not going to be until after midnight down around that corridor as it looks at this point in time. Amanda checking in from Aurora. Maybe around 10, 11 midnight time frame. It'll move into the Chicago suburbs area. Corey, is it going to affect your bourbon consumption your bourbon consumption this evening? Well, it's warm outside. It's nice. It could. Sit outside. Have fun with it. I see a lot of people tuning in regarding the winds that you're seeing right now. Now, the winds that you're dealing with right now are not associated with any thunderstorms, obviously. It's nice outside. There's some clouds. There's some sun. It's a warm day outside. The winds that you're seeing right now during the afternoon are associated with the fact that the storm system is potent and there's a lot of mixing with the atmosphere. So those high jet stream winds aloft are actually being mixed and transported down to the surface today. So that's why it's windy today. Even outside of the thunderstorms tonight, it'll be windy, and it'll even be windy into tomorrow morning and afternoon outside of any precipitation as well. So these winds you're seeing, they're called synoptic winds. They're not associated with any rain or thunderstorm activity. They're associated with the fact that we're dealing with a strong storm system, very potent, deep low pressure, and we're dealing with strong jet aloft, both aloft in the atmosphere and low-level jet as well. And there's a lot of mixing, so those winds aloft are being transported down to the surface. Davey checking in from the Sandwich area regarding you live in a mobile home park. Definitely keep an eye to the weather. Your time frame will probably be closer to 10, 11 o'clock tonight, give or take a little bit for that severe weather activity. So definitely be on the lookout as it approaches your area and take action if you need to. Naya saying I sound like Michael Scott. I will take that as a compliment because I, for one, hate my voice with a passion. So I'll take that as a compliment because that's better than it sounds to me. Elijah wants me to name some of the counties that are at risk. Well, I'm not going to do that because that is every single county in the state of Illinois. And I stress, if you do not know what county you live in, you really should know what county you live in. And this is not directed at you at all. This is just directed in general to everyone. If you don't know where your city or town is located in the state of Illinois, and you don't know what county you live in, you should find that out. Not only due to weather issues, whether it be snow or severe weather, but just to have common knowledge of where you live as well. This is an issue that we often get not only on our page, but the National Weather Service gets questions like this. Other social media weather outlets get questions like this as well. Well, is it going to hit, my county or my city? And you have a map posted showing you what's going to happen where you live. You just don't know where you live, Everyone needs to know where they live. Everyone should know where to point on a map that depicts where they live. What county you're in, what city you're in, where you are in the state, where you are in the country. It should be common, basic knowledge for everyone. And like I said, that wasn't directed at you at all, but your question reminded me to say something about that. Stephanie checking in from Rockford. You will have a severe weather risk, but up there near the border, near the Wisconsin-Illinois border, it's only looking like an isolated severe weather risk. And once again, that has to deal with the fact that the better parameters, moisture, instability, those parameters are going to be greater across central and southern Illinois. So that's why you notice that central southern Illinois, it's a level 3, level 4 risk because those parameters we look for severe weather are going to be better. Whereas northern Illinois, the parameters are going to be a little bit more marginal. Instability, moisture is going to be a little bit more marginal, even though shear is going to be still very, very ample. So that shear will make up for the marginal instability and the marginal moisture, which is why we do still expect a severe weather threat up there across northern Illinois. It's just at this point in time, it does not look as great as it will be across central and southern Illinois. Lisa checking in here from Adams County downstate. Yes, we are expecting severe thunderstorm and tornado watches across the state tonight. I'm going to say we're probably going to see the entire state under at least one watch at some point in time. And I'm going to guess most of the watches tonight are going to be tornado watches. So I'd say it's very likely the entirety of the state will see at least one severe weather watch tonight. And I'm going to guess it's probably going to be mostly tornado watches that we see issued tonight. Gavin checking in from Sandwich saying you're on the border of yellow to orange. No, you are on the border of green to yellow. That means widely scattered to scattered severe thunderstorm activity. Stephanie wondering what QLCS means. So QLCS is quasi-linear convective system. It's a big fancy term for a broken squall line. That's pretty much all it is. You know, back in the day, a good 25 years ago, everyone would call it a squall line. But, you know, new terms are always brought forward, and even terms that have been out there forever sometimes get a new pop. And QLCS is the term everyone usually likes to use now. So, quasi-linear convective system. It's just a big fancy term for a broken squall line. And within that broken squall line, or QLCS, a lot of times you can get a mixture of different modes or type of severe thunderstorm. And what I mean by that is sometimes you can get line segments, sometimes you can get some supercell structures, and that's kind of what we're going to be dealing with tonight. It's going to be a broken QLCS that has mixed modes, so some line segments, some embedded supercell structures, and far enough south, there probably will be some actual supercells as well. All right, here, Dawn, or will Aurora get damaging winds? It is possible, but, you know, you can never guarantee any one particular location is going to get severe weather or not. Jesse wondering what happens with high shear. Shear is one of the many ingredients we look at for severe weather. When you're dealing with really, really low shear, you know, those thunderstorms and severe thunderstorms tend to struggle to develop or stay mature once developed when you're dealing with really, really weak shear. Now, when you're dealing with moderate to high shear that get those storms developing, it keeps them mature, keeps them living. However, there are cases where you could have too much shear compared to very little instability, and that'll just knock those thunderstorms over. So there's a lot that happens with these different ingredients. But in the case of today, like central southern Illinois, the shear, instability, moisture ranges will match up pretty well with each other. Like I said, across northern Illinois, the shear is going to be there, but your instability and your moisture is going to be a little bit lower, which is why once you get north of I-80, your severe weather threat is going to be more isolated to widely scattered compared to the scattered to numerous severe weather threat central southern Illinois. And I see a lot of these questions here, you know, are these specific locations at risk? Once again, if you're asking about a specific location, find where you are on the map and you will have your answer. We have the full state of Illinois here at view. We have some legends on the screen here. This will tell you what level and how widespread activity will be. All you got to do is find where you are on the map, and it will tell you what to expect. So, for example, here, Springfield, for example, you're in the orange. You go down here to the legend, you could see that level 4 risk in orange means you could see numerous severe thunderstorms in the area. Now, if you want to know what kind of threats you're going to see, for example, if you live in Springfield, let's come to the side here. And as you can see, damaging winds and tornadoes will be the main threat. However, large hail will also be possible. Another thing you might notice here is we have this legend at the bottom of the screen that says significant, and you can see this little hatching here. And you'll notice it's on the entirety of the map. That's because we could see some significant severe thunderstorms across the entirety of the state. So if you come off to the side over here, this little blurb will tell you what to expect with those significant severe thunderstorms. There could be some significant damaging winds, widespread damaging winds. There could be some strong tornadoes, several tornadoes, long track tornadoes. So a lot of questions that we get fairly often can be answered. We actually made a post about this on our Facebook page about an hour or two ago. But a lot of the questions that we get can be answered if you read our posts or you read the information that is provided on the maps. Now, yes, I know the specific timing for your particular home cities are not listed on here, but you have to remember, we cover the entire state of Illinois. We're not paid a salary to do this. We do this on our own time, and it's pretty much a hobby or a side job. So, we don't have a fully staffed office to always answer questions on what to expect for everyone's backyards. We do the best we can. That's why when we're covering the whole state and with the staff that we have, we talk about generalized timing. So for example, here on this forecast graphic, you can see the generalized timing across the state is late this afternoon through early Saturday morning. So because we cover the entire state of Illinois here, we usually generalize a lot of our information. Now, yes, like I said, I know you want to know if Peoria is going to get hit at midnight. We try to get to those questions the best that we can, but a lot of times we are unable to because we're doing things like these live videos or all of the posts on our page and trying to get out all of that generalized information with, for everybody. So when it comes to, questions like, what's the threat in Champaign tonight? That's why we ask you, please read all of the information on our posts and on these graphics, because a lot of those questions can be answered if you just do a little bit of reading. With that said, Kathy here with a good question. Will the line be weakening as it moves towards Chicago? It does look like that will be the case at this point in time, and that goes back to what I was talking about a little while ago, is that the best parameters are going to be down here across central and southern Illinois. So while we will still have a severe weather threat across the northern part of the state, it is going to be a little bit lower, as you can see, than further south. That's because the severe weather parameters, are going to be a little less up to the north than they will be down to the south. Now, in terms of types of severe weather, once again, we're going to be dealing with all modes of severe weather possible. Damaging winds will be possible with this activity, if not likely, I should say. Some significant damaging winds will be possible. We're going to be dealing with both QLCS and also possibly supercell tornado threat with this activity as well. That tornado threat will be across the entire state. However, it will be maximized across the level 4 risk area, and that's the tornado threat I'm talking about. And there will be some hail threat as well. The hail threat, large hail threat, will also probably be maximized across the level 4 risk area as well. Angelica checking in from St. Louis. St. Louis is looking pretty bad this evening. Some of the highest risk for some significant severe weather is going to be down in the St. Louis area. Obviously, St. Louis is a big metropolitan area. Going to be dealing with quite a severe weather event in the St. Louis area. Could be dealing with mixture of modes, like I said, line segments, supercells, large hail possible, damaging to destructive winds possible. Also some tornadoes being possible down in the St. Louis area as well. Pretty big early season severe weather event going to be going on down across those areas. Stephanie with a question of, are we going to get any snow after this? Do I want to answer that question? There's another storm system for the middle of next week that we're watching. And yes, some of the weather models do show some snow with it. And other models show some severe weather with it. So after we get past this storm system here to start this weekend, there will be another storm system for Wednesday into Thursday that could either have a severe weather threat with it and or a snow potential with it. So we'll talk more about that after we get past this current one. Elijah, Madison County, yes, severe weather threat as we head into this evening and into tonight. Sheridan checking in, what directions will the storms be moving? The storms will be moving off towards the northeasterly direction. So the storms we're getting tonight are going to be moving off in a northeasterly direction here, kind of like that. Angelica wondering around timing around the St. Louis area. Perhaps as early as 7 to 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock time frame. We'll be looking around the St. Louis area. Maybe as late as 9 o'clock, I should say, 9:30. Jen, wondering about the severe weather threat for the Chicagoland area, if the chances are lower near the lake. Is that true? No, it is not. The winds are offshore today. There is no lake influence, so the lake will have no impact whatsoever on this severe weather potential across northeastern Illinois. Carrie checking in DuPage area anywhere between 10 to midnight tonight. Yes, that is the timing around your area. And generally, I know Chicago area is a big population center here for us on the page. And if you're in the Chicago metro area, let's say your timing generalized between 10 to midnight or so, maybe 10 to 12:30 is going to be the generalized timing for the Chicago area. Once again, if you're in the St. Louis area, let's say your timing is going to be anywhere between 7 to 9:30 or so, maybe as late as 10 o'clock in some areas. The line's going to be moving quickly off to the northeast more than it is going to be off towards the east, so the timing is going to be a little bit lagged further to the south, because if you've tuned in for this whole video, I showed one of the weather forecast models earlier, and there could still be a severe weather potential across southeastern Illinois as late as 4 to 5 o'clock in the morning. So if you're dealing with severe weather up across northeastern Illinois between 10 and 12:30 tonight, and it's still lingering down across parts of southeastern Illinois at 5 o'clock in the morning, that tells you that this line is going to be more shaped like this, really pushing off towards the northeast with the eastward movement much, much slower overall. Kankakee, yes, your threat probably closer to around midnight. Josh in Bloomington, perhaps closer to around 10 p.m., give or take or so. Gavin and Sandwich, you're right on the border of that widely scattered to scattered severe thunderstorm potential around your neck of the woods. Kiera, yes, we're going to be dealing with watches for tonight. Probably going to be dealing with several tornado watches, at least a couple of them issued across the state and across the region as well. Gabrielle, Naperville, Brandon in Oak Brook. We have Tara in DeKalb, Kristen, Kane County, Paulie, McHenry County. Once again, anyone in the Chicago metro area, you're going to be dealing with your threat probably roughly in that 10 to 12:30 time frame tonight. Elizabeth, yes, there is going to be a threat for tornadoes across the entire state tonight. Entire state has a chance for tornadic activity tonight. However, once again, that threat is going to be greatest across the level 4 risk area for tornadoes as we head through the overnight hours tonight. Let's carry on here. I see some of the same areas checking in here. Let's try to get to a couple of different questions here. Oh, also, I know a common question we get. I don't see this question all in the video chat right now, but another question we commonly get is, will a tornado hit my town? Now, like I said, I don't see any of those questions here in this video, but we often get those questions sent to us. We cannot tell you if a tornado is going to hit your town several hours in advance. Now, yes, if there's a storm ongoing that's producing a tornado, and it looks like it's going to come at you within the next, 15 minutes, half an hour, then maybe we could tell you that your town might get hit by a tornado, but it is impossible. No one can tell you that your town will be hit by a tornado hours or even days in advance. If anybody tells you that, you should probably stop talking to them, because they have no idea what they're talking about. And once again, I don't see that question in the video chat at all here, but it's just a common question that we do get behind the scenes sometimes, is, will a tornado hit my particular town? And that's just not something we're capable of telling you. All right, here. Now, I do see that we have a tornado watch that was issued. So let me try to get this up on the screen here for you. There we go. So we do have a tornado watch that was just recently issued, and this tornado watch does include the St. Louis metro area. So here's our tornado watch in this sort of pinky purple color here. And here's our border of Illinois here. So we do have some counties that are in this tornado watch. So if you're in places like Quincy, Pittsfield, Carlinville, the entire St. Louis metro area, you folks are now under a tornado watch. So we're starting to see these watches be issued. Taking a wide view here, you can see we do have this line of severe thunderstorms out here across Missouri, and it is moving off towards the northeast here. So just in a couple of hours, it's going to be knocking on the door of the Quincy area. So Quincy area, you're probably going to be the first to see any of this severe weather activity as it moves out of Missouri and into Illinois. But once again, this pink kind of purpley colored watch, this is a tornado watch that was just issued here recently, and it includes the Quincy area down towards Pittsfield, Carlinville, and the entirety of the St. Louis metro area. You folks are now under a tornado watch for this evening and into early tonight. And once again, this line of severe thunderstorms in Missouri is going to rapidly push you off towards the northeast as we move through the next several hours. All right, let's keep going. Natalie wondering if this threat is similar to the one that we saw last July of 2024. Not even close. This is actually a potent storm system moving through. Last July when we had the derecho move through, that was a bow echo pretty much that moved through. Derecho, widespread wind damage. Yes, there were many tornadoes with it, but this is an actual full-on storm system with a big QLCS, or should I say squall line, that's going to be moving across the state. The environment was different. That was July. This is March. It was hot. It was humid. Right now, it's just warm and kind of drier. That didn't have as much shear. This one does, so that not even remotely close in that case, comparing things to that event of last July. Catherine here with a good question we'll get to right now. Wondering if there's a tornado in the orange area, a long track tornado, is it safe to say it could move into the yellow area? Yes. Even though some people think it, we do not control the weather. So if there's a tornado that occurs, out here in the orange area, it's not going to just automatically, stop at the yellow corridor just because the threat level is slightly less. Once again, one thing I should say a lot of folks don't know is severe weather threat levels are based on coverage of severe weather. So say you follow the Storm Prediction Center. They issue the official severe weather forecast, quote unquote official severe weather forecasts. And you're looking at the marginal, slight, enhanced, moderate risk. Those risks that the Storm Prediction Center issues are not based on severity. A lot of people think that they are. They're like, oh my gosh, we're in a moderate risk. We're going to get all this significant severe weather. But that's not how it is. The risks, severe weather risks, are all based on coverage of severe weather, not intensity. So the higher the threat level, it's actually the higher the coverage that you're going to be seeing. So when you see the Storm Prediction Center issue a moderate risk, like they have across portions of the state for today, that's because they're expecting higher coverage of severe weather. Just like our forecast, you see this massive area of level 4 risk here. That's because we're expecting higher coverage of severe weather. And I know that's something that a lot of folks don't actually know, but now you do. Severe weather forecast, whether it's our forecast or the Storm Prediction Center, once again, it is based on coverage. As you go up in threat level, you increase the coverage of severe weather potential. Now, if you're talking about severity, like, oh my gosh, is it going to produce baseball-size hail or 80-mile-an-hour winds? There are thresholds in which we issue this hatching. So you see these lines that go across the screen here. All these lines, this is called hatching. And if you notice at the bottom of the screen here, we have all those colors with that hatching. So anytime you see that significant severe weather or hatching, the Storm Prediction Center does the same thing. Anytime you see that hatching, that's when we're forecasting significant severe weather. So that's when we're forecasting the intensity or the severity of the severe weather, when you start to see that hatching. Now, if you're not seeing that hatching, you're still going to see a severe weather threat. You're just not going to see the very, very intense, strong, violent tornadoes, long track tornadoes, 75-mile-per-hour winds or greater, baseball-size hail or greater. Those are all that's all significant severe weather. So when you don't see the hatching, you're probably not going to see that intense severe weather. Now, when you do see the hatching, you may see some of that intense severe weather. And when we do see that, we will always note what kind of significant severe weather it will be. Just like the Storm Prediction Center, you'll see their tornado, hail, and wind forecasts. Sometimes you'll see the hatching on one of them, sometimes two of them, sometimes all three of them. So it'll tell you what type of significant severe weather you're going to get. Like I said, a lot of folks just don't know that because that information isn't always relayed to you. Like, I know the Storm Prediction Center does have a web page telling you how their severe weather outlooks look, but most of the general public are not going to search that information, so they don't actually know. So once again, sort of like an FYI little thing here, severe weather risks are based on coverage, not intensity. When we start talking about intensity, that's when you start to see that hatching, both by us and the Storm Prediction Center. So just a little bit of an FYI tangent here to go off of just briefly. All right, here, going to scroll quickly forward here just through a couple more comments and questions. Nathan checking in. How's it going? I liked that you asked the question if a tornado will hit your town. Thank you for that. And I went... All right, let's carry on here. Regarding severe weather watches, yes, we do expect to see additional tornado watches issued tonight. As I mentioned just a couple of minutes ago, we do have a tornado watch that was recently issued for the western, southwestern Illinois area. So from Quincy down to the St. Louis area in that pinky purple corridor, you are now under a tornado watch, and we do expect to see additional watches issued across much of the state as we head through this evening and into overnight tonight as well. All right, so with that said, we've been live for almost an hour now. Let's just do a quick reset, give you some brief information here, and then we're going to go ahead and end this video chat for this afternoon. Take a look at how things are doing since we got on here. But once again, we do have a significant severe weather shaping up for this evening, into tonight, and into early Saturday morning. We are expecting a severe weather threat across the entire state from this evening into tonight and into Saturday morning. Now, as you can see here, up across northern Illinois, we have the blue and the green area. that is isolated to widely scattered severe thunderstorms will be possible. So once again, northern Illinois, pretty much from I-80 to the Wisconsin border, the blue and green corridor here, places like Rockford, Dubuque, Chicago area, DeKalb, out towards Dixon as well, Freeport. The blue and green corridors mean that the coverage of severe weather is going to be more isolated to widely scattered. However, if we do see those isolated to widely scattered severe thunderstorms across that corridor of northern Illinois, damaging winds will be possible, potentially some significant damaging winds. We could also maybe see a QLCS tornado or two. So that's for you folks up there across northern Illinois. As we go further south, pretty much from I-80 across all of central and southern Illinois, the yellow and orange corridors, that means you're going to be dealing with scattered to numerous severe thunderstorms, likely all modes of severe weather, likely across central and southern Illinois, including large hail, including damaging winds, perhaps significant damaging winds, and also some tornadoes, and especially across central southern Illinois, that orange shaded area, the level 4 risk, we might be dealing with maybe a couple of strong tornadoes, maybe a couple of long track tornadoes, several tornadoes being possible. The environment for severe weather across central and southern Illinois is looking pretty good. Northern Illinois, like I said, a little bit more marginal, however, still enough of an environment in place that will be supportive of at least an isolated to widely scattered severe thunderstorm threat across northern Illinois as well. So with that said, keep your eyes to the weather as we move through this evening into tonight and early Saturday morning. These storms will be moving very, very fast. 50, 60, 70, maybe 75 mile per hour storm movement as we move through tonight. So if you are put under a warning, definitely seek shelter. If it's a tornado warning, seek shelter very quickly. Severe thunderstorm warning, obviously take precautions as needed very quickly, because once you're put into a warning, like I said, these storms are going to be moving very, very quickly across the state this evening. Regarding timing, if you're out there across places, let's say if you're out there in a place like the Quincy area, western Illinois, your activity is going to be moving in right around Quincy area, let's say 7:30, 8 o'clock around the Quincy area for timing. Quad Cities area, maybe around 9 o'clock or so. St. Louis area between 9 to 10 o'clock. Springfield area, let's say roughly around 9:30, 10 o'clock or so as well. Same goes for Peoria. Bloomington, just slightly after that. You're not much further down the road from Peoria. The Chicago area, maybe as early as 10:30 to maybe about 12:30 is your rough time frame there. Champaign area, probably around, let's say, 11:30, midnight, 12:30 or so, your time frame. Carbondale, probably around 11:30, midnight or so as well. So these storms are going to be moving very, very quickly across the state tonight, posing that significant severe weather risk. So with that said here, we are going to wrap up this discussion here for this afternoon. Thank you all for tuning in. We will be around all evening and all night providing updates. We'll be posting watches, and we'll be posting some of the warnings. We'll be doing short-term updates as well, so stay tuned for all of that information throughout the evening and into tonight.